Wow, folks, I just got finished watching this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead, episode 7-11. This conclusion is mind-blowing. We'll come back to that, but if this is your first time checking out the channel, please note, no spoilers here, because I want you to enjoy it in the same capacity that I did. But yes, this is episode 7-11, titled Ofelia. Everybody, we know that name, so we know where this one's going. But I have to let you know that this episode is the directorial debut of Alycia Debnam-Carey, aka Alycia from the Fear the Walking Dead series. So, man, she knocked it out. This was a fantastic episode. I was all over the place emotion-wise, but man, did they bring it home towards the end. There was one particular part of the episode I was not a fan of, but nonetheless, this episode with the ending and some other events of this episode, oh wow, this was a good one. But in this episode, it starts off with Daniel and Wes and Lucy, just kind of talking on the submarine. They're getting ready to come up with a plan in order to overthrow Shran. But the moment they take their eyes off of Daniel wanders outside of the sub, and they need Daniel because Daniel is a very, very pivotal part into their plans, because Daniel is probably the only person who knows Shran better than he knows himself. Like, he literally knows what he's thinking before Shran actually does it. But they need him in order to put together a plan in order to take the tower and pretty much give them a new beginning. But Daniel's mind is still giving him issues. Like, I just want to call it dementia, but you know, they never actually label it as anything. But he's still having troubles with his mind, because he thinks that he has this sign that Ofelia is still alive. He thinks that he just seen her and he's going out to look for her, and he thinks she has something to do with a boat. So, like, you know, he's outside doing what he does to find his daughter, but we all know that she has been dead since like season 3 and whatnot. But like I said, his mind is still having a lot of issues, a lot of conflict, a lot of confusion. But this now sends Wes and Lucy to go get him, and his mind definitely makes things extremely difficult for them and endanger them every step of the way. Beyond that, though, because you know they're, you know how they are on the submarine. Morgan always, you know, making messages over not only the intercom but through the walkie-talkies and whatnot. That does bring down the attention of Arnold and the stalkers, which they are aware now that there is a weapons cache somewhere, and the stalkers, they have guns but no ammunition, and you know how that kind of works. That can actually deter and scare humans, but not going to do anything to the dead. And so their interest is all about trying to figure out where that weapons cache is at, because Arnold just wants to just protect his folks, and because Alycia can do it, that's what his whole sole purpose is to basically protect his folks, the stalkers and whatnot. And we get a glimpse at where they're living at, how they're living and whatnot, this Shark Tank and whatnot. So, you know, we get a glimpse at how they're kind of kicking it and whatever. But, you know, the biggest thing here is that Ofelia is truly Daniel's motivation. And that's sort of a scary thing, because we all know the truth to that, but he actually is confused about it. And with that being his motivation, then that also means that he can sort of be manipulated, and that could be leveraged, and that's a sort of a scary thing in his own too. And Daniel, with everything that's happening, which is also why I think it's dealing with dementia, because this is sort of like a sign of dementia, he's very mean about this. Like, he's raw, he's unfiltered, he's ruthless, and like, he even throws some jabs at Lucy that was kind of like, wow, like, tell us how you really feel, you know? But with that being said, man, there are some yikes moments, there's some oh my god moments, and the ending, I gotta say, the last few moments of this episode is completely shocking. I sort of saw this happening, kind of makes it this episode. I kind of saw seeds being planted, and I ultimately, the end, I was just like, yep, that was a little predictable, but wow, it is still mind-blowing. And let's not forget too, based on what we've seen in the previous episodes, Arnold and the Stalkers are fully aware of other means of trouble out there on the road. So, you know, there's there's Strand and the Stalkers. There's a bunch of different things that's kind of in line, and that could be problematic for folks ultimately trying to overthrow Strand's tower. But the biggest thing in this episode is they need to make sure that Daniel is on board, because he is the main catalyst to the success here. So you have to kind of see how this plays out. But wow, that ending of the episode is crazy, and I cannot wait to get back for episode 12. I gotta say, Alycia, man, this is a fantastic directorial debut. Looking forward to seeing her in other future episodes directing, if she's not on screen. So definitely hats off to her. And this was also written by Alex and David. So, you know, overall solid episode, solid production. So, but yeah, we're back each and every week. Fear the Walking Dead. Jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about this week's episode, and I'll see you back next week for another review.